All right, Pac-Manians, here we are with page 3. I'm only doing 3 problems here. I think that you could try these and see what you get. And if you want to ask me what, I think about it, we can do a private Zoom on them. They're a little bit more involved, and I really want to focus on just being able to do these basic problems, all right? I want to be able to read through them all. But this one is definitely a good one to draw a model for because you're going to know what you need to take out. All right, I would draw the model and then I would mark down where all the lights are and then scratch out the ones I'm not actually going to use, and then that's how you're going to get it. So that's how that one works. Okay, so I've got here a science teacher needs to collect lake water for a lab she is teaching. The lab requires each student to use 4 fluid ounces of lake water. If there are 68 students, so I've got 4 fluid ounces for each, right? 68 students are participating. How many pints of water are going to need to be collected? So I've got to find out what first. I'm going ounces to pints. If I'm going ounces to pints, what do I need to know first? The question is how many pints. I got to figure out first how many ounces that I'm dealing with. So I'm going to go total ounces here. Okay, so how do I figure that out? Pause. Think about it. You're back. Okay. So how many of you came up with, I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply, right? I've got 68 students. They're all lined up, and they've each got their little cup, right? And then they're going to do this. So I'm going to take my 68 students, and each of them needs 4 ounces. I'm going to repeatedly add here, so that's multiplication. 4 times 8, 32. Put my 3 up here. 4 times 6, 24, plus the 3. Gives me 27, right? So I got 272 ounces. Ounces. That's my total. Okay, I've got to go from this to pints. Now, I'm going to take this in 2 steps, all right? But you could do it in 1, and here's why I'm going to do it in 2. If I want to go from ounces to cups, right? And cups are bigger, so I need fewer, so I'm going to divide, right? But I need 8. And to go from that cups to pints, I'm going to then divide by 2 because pints are bigger and I need fewer. And it's a relationship of 2 to 1, right? So I could divide by 16 right off the bat, 272 divided by 16, or I could divide it by 8. I feel a little bit more comfortable dividing it by 8 than by 16. So that's how I'm going to do it this time. But you could do it by 16. So I'm going to take, we're going to go to total cups. So I'm going to take 272, and I'm going to divide it by 8. And you're going to see why this comes out a little bit nicer. 8 into 27 goes in how many times? 3, right? So I've got 3 times 8 is 24. And I'm going to subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. And of course, 2 minus 2 is 0, so I leave it. And then I'm going to bring down my 2. And 8 into 32, we've done this already today, 4. All right, so now I've got 34 cups. But I don't want cups, I want pints, right? So I'm going to take pints. And I'm going to take 34 cups, and I'm going to divide it by 2 because that's my ratio. And if you look at your chart, you'll see the same thing. 2 goes into 3 one time. Minus 2, I get that 1. I bring down my 4. I get 14. 2 into 14, 7. I get 17 pints. Boom. Okay. Otherwise, I take 272 and I'm going to divide it by 16. And I'm going to have to then do multiples of 6, right? Of 16. So it's up to you however you want to do it. If you want to try it, take a calculator even and say, what's 272 divided by 16 and just see if it comes out to 17. I think it will. Then try that. All right. All right. So I'm not doing that one. When Elena's car moves forward such that each tire makes 1 full rotation, the car has traveled 72 inches. That's a long sentence with a lot of information, but it looks like to me 72 inches is 1 full rotation. Okay? How many full rotations will the tires need to make Elena's car travel 10 yards? And for me, again, I'm going to go to inches and then I'm going to go to yards. Okay? If I want to go straight from inches to yards, how many inches are in a yard, I'm going to have to go, okay, well, I'm going to divide 72 by 36 if I look at my chart. Or I'm going to divide by 12 and then divide by 3. Dividing by 12 and dividing by 3 seems a lot easier to me. So you can do it either way. You can step, 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 or you can do the big one, okay? So I'm going to take 72, my total inches, I'm going to go total feet. And now feet are bigger, so I need fewer of them. So I'm going to divide. I'm going to take 72, and I'm going to divide that by 12. And the reason that I like that is because 12s is one of the things that we know about from our multiplication charts, right? And if I want, how many 12s can I take from 72? Well, 12 times 6 is 72, right? So it's going to be 6 feet. And minus 72, it comes out perfectly, right? And then from here, I'm going to go to total yards for one rotation. Total yards. Right? And that's just 6 feet divided by 3. Right? Because how many feet are in a yard? 3 of them. So that's 2. So 36 inches, if I took 72, 36 times 2, if you add it together, 36 plus 36, that is 72. So you could divide by 36 and you're going to get the same answer. That's all I'm trying to show you here. Or you can step by step it if you find that kind of division to be more difficult. If I got 2 yards and I want to travel 10, so I go 2, how many times is it going to take me? I'm going to take the big number and I'm going to divide. I'm going to repeatedly subtract. So I'm going to take 10 divided by 2, and 10 divided by 2. That's easy, right? That's 5. So it's going to take 5 rotations. So this should say total rotations. My bad. All right. This is the kind of problem you're probably going to find on a test. I love these elephant and lion things with the tons, right? A male African elephant weighs 7 tons. If a male African lion at the zoo weighs 1/40th, can you imagine that? 1/40th of the weight of the male African elephant, how many pounds? So the African lion is 1/40th. And every time I see a fraction, every fraction is a what? It's a division problem. And if it says 1/40th of, it means I times by 1/40th, which just means I divide by 40. Because whatever, right, is going to be on top. So I got to figure out, it says how many pounds. I'm going to circle that. That's what I need to find. How many pounds? So of course I've got to take my tons and turn them into pounds. So I'm going to take 2,000 times 7. And of course, 2 times 7 is 14. And then I add how many zeros? 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. I got 14,000 pounds. That is one big elephant. I'm going to put LBS here. All right, so this is total pounds. Total elephant pounds. Okay. Now, I got to figure out how much the lion weighs. So if it's 1/140th, remember I said whenever you see that 1/40th, that means divide by 40. It really means I take 14,000 over 1 times 1/40, right? 1/40th of. And do you see how this just comes out to be 14,000 over 40? And every fraction is a division problem. So now I'm just going to take 14,000. This is just an aside to prove what I'm saying is true, by the way. Divided by 40. Now this looks daunting maybe at first glance, okay? But what do I do with my zeros? Take them off, right? Not all of them, just one on each, right? So I'm gonna take off that 0 and that 0. So now I have 1,400 divided by 4. That's a lot easier to work with. I'm just gonna take 4 into 14, goes how many times? 3. So I'm gonna put my 3 there. I'm gonna subtract 12. That leaves me with 2. I bring down a 0. 4 goes into 20. How many times? 4 times 5 is 20. Got it. Put that 5 there. Minus 20. Right? I bring down that's 0. And I have just a 0 left. So what do I put over the top of that? A 0. All right. So 350 pounds. Still quite the large animal. Let me see if you can. Yeah, you can see all that, right? pretty much. All right, last page coming up, and then we'll talk a little bit about homework.